Hello everybody, it's Andy here from AIM Media Games. Let me just adjust my microphone, sorry for the noise there. Now this is a completely random video, it's just a request from one of my subscribers on YouTube. I wasn't going to do this tonight, but I decided I'll try and get through it quickly. So there's plenty of tutorials out there online. Some of them will be vastly different. How to set up a flashlight so you can light up dark areas in your video games, having it set up on a surface so you can walk over, pick it up, and then that gives you the ability, probably using a branch and a variable, to then be able to use that flashlight and navigate dark areas of your video game. So as you can see, I have nothing set up. Pressing the F key, nothing's going to happen because, again, it wasn't a planned video, but let's go over how to set it up now. So we need something to act as my flashlight. I don't have any models in here, so I'm going to have to just create anything. Blueprint actor, and let's name this flashlight, excuse me, BP. So we have it here, drag that into our scene. Let's create a little table. Again, you're gonna make this look a lot nicer, and let's place this on top of our table. Okay, we have here our little blueprint actor, and then let's go and open that up. Now in our blueprint, what we want to do is add, we're going to use a cylinder for our flashlight model, and let's shrink that down because in game this will be huge. Yeah, I don't really want to be carrying that around because you'd get arm fatigue pretty quickly. Right, so let's shrink this down to a reasonable size, so probably a little bit more, and then stretch it out. So this step where we have our cylinder, this step would just be the same but with a custom model, so you can follow along. If you're using something other than a stupid cylinder, then you would just do the same step, but just instead of having the cylinder, you just have your mesh, and you can place it here. So you could do cylinder and then just hot swap this out for the custom model or mesh. We're also then going to rotate this so it's on the -90 there, so it's on the surface. Oops, one more. There we go. And bring that slightly up, compile it, and then check it in game. So we have this little tiny flashlight. Let's move it to the end of our table, and we can place it somewhere here. Now with any code, if you ever want to have it so it's like a check to see if the player has something before he can use it, a simple way to do it will just be using a branch and a variable. But in here, in our event graph, we want to use our class settings. Now again, because this is a completely spontaneous random video that I wasn't going to do tonight, I'm not going to go back through all previous videos and set up blueprint interfaces. So this is more for kind of intermediate, somebody who already has a blueprint interface interaction system set up. I'll link it in the description and pin a comment on the YouTube video. So please don't go and ask, how do I how do I interact with the flashlight? It's not working. You have to have a blueprint interface for this to work, because from your character's perspective, I'll show you now. We're going to go in game, and you can see here I've got this blue line. Now I've got a red and a blue. My E is my interact, and my red is my pickup. Okay, so right now it's doing nothing because it's just passing through it because it's ignoring this object. But when I press E and we add it to my class settings, I'll quickly show you my first person. So I have these interactions. This one here is pick up physics-based objects, and this one here is my blueprint interface interaction code. We can see here it's off the right mouse button, and we have interact interface message. So if you don't have this in your first person or third person character, excuse me, then this won't work. The method that I'm doing will not work, but again, I will link it in the description. So, okay, so let's go back into our flashlight blueprint, and let's go to our class settings, and we can add in our interact interface. Let's make sure it's the right one. This one, I think that's right. Yeah, it's the right one. Okay, so now that we have that set up, excuse me, if we double click, whenever we, let's do a print string to show you how this works. So whenever we now interact with this object and we press E, right mouse button or E on it, we can see there at the top right, top left, whenever my interact interface detects that this object has that class setting enabled, we can interact with that. You can see hello being printed on the left side. Now this is what a blueprint interface is mainly used for. It's a way to communicate between your first person or third person character blueprint and to fire off code in another blueprint. So it's kind of like the middleman when the laser or ray trace or line trace hits an object, it sends out a message, yes, this object contains the blueprint interface, and it can interact, and whatever you put in the code, it will do. So in here, excuse me, sorry for my bad chest. In here, what we're going to do is we want to do is we want this to vanish, because we have to simulate the player picking this up. Now you could do multiple ways. You could have it so it's animated, you could have it so just the player picks it up and it vanishes instantly. You can have it so the player's hand reaches out and picks it up, but I can't do that on this mesh because I don't have any physical hands. So for this one, for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to literally just do the simplest method, because it would take me much longer to do the other ones and I haven't got the time. So out of my event interact, we need to set up a series of events that are going to control what happens to this. Oops, not this one. What happens to this when we press right mouse button on it. So the first thing we want to do, let's get our flashlight model and set visibility. And it's going to be invisible. So that's going to go there. We're going to create an event dispatcher. This is going to be has flashlight. And we're going to call that. And we can also so we have our event dispatcher, which is going to give us a way to communicate. We could do it a few ways, but we're going to do it through the level blueprint. So we have this, and then also we want to do a delay. Excuse me. Oops. And then we're going to set that for 2 seconds, and then destroy actor, because we won't need it anymore. And that goes in there. So now when we click on our object and we right click, all that's going to happen is it's going to vanish. It's still there 2 seconds later. It calls that event through the event dispatcher, and then the object's gone. So now it's simulated being inside the player's inventory system because you've picked it up, right? So what we do then, let's open our level blueprint. Let's go with get player character. Excuse me. And in here we need to set up a simple code for a flashlight. So we want to go to our viewport, and we're going to add in a cylinder. Let's go to our flashlight, click on here, right click, copy. So if you right click on this small grey section here between each one of these, you can copy, and you can also paste the data. So instead of doing them individually, right click, copy. Let's go to our first person character, let's go to our viewport, let's paste that in. Let's rotate this. And what we want to do is we want to drag our first person character into the level so we can see our view. And then with the blueprint here, if we open that, open this, and then move this, we can get an idea of where that cylinder will be based off our camera point. So that's kind of roughly where we probably want it to be. Something like that. And you can do, again, you can do this any way you want. If you want to add some kind of motion wobble to it, then that's fine, kind of similar to head bobbing, you can do so. If you want to animate this so it kind of like rotates up, oh yeah, we've got the flashlight and it rotates, you can do that as well. I'm just doing the simplest form. So now that we have that, let's compile. I'm going to set visibility to off, compile it. We're also going to, in fact, I'll turn it on because we want to add something to the end here. So let's compile, let's bring that back up to our top bar where we have our tabs, and we're going to add in a spotlight. Oops, wrong one. Pause. Spotlight, just like so. Once you've added in your spotlight, let's set up the position. So let's get our position for the location of this, and let's paste it there. And then what we can do is if we move this forwards, just like so, and then set the cone angle down, and then we come into the game. So we do have a flashlight. What we can do is probably attach it. I wonder if attach it to our camera. Let's see if I do spotlight. Could we do our, there we go, spotlight on our camera. So if we go in game now, I hate when that happens. There we go. Will it move? Yeah, it will move with our camera. So we have a flashlight, and that's fine. That's all set up. Let's move this back a little bit. Then we want to increase the brightness of our light. So let's set this to something like 100. Excuse me. And we want it to be attached to, let's have a look. Spotlight is going to go on our cylinder so it moves wherever our thing moves. Okay, so we have our flashlight there, but we want it to move up and down with the actual camera. So let's do our cylinder on our first person camera. Let's see that. There we go. So now we have a simple mesh with a simple flashlight, and you can move that around. Now, how do we turn this on and turn this off? Now, obviously a lot of people already know how to do this. It's not, I respect the people who are learning. It's going to be difficult, but by any standard, it's not difficult if you've got used to doing or working in game engines. So for this method now, what we want to do, let's move that forward a little bit actually, on this. So this and this. So that, let's forward a little bit. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. I do have a free model. I'll link that in the description as well. I might put it in the comments and pin the comment. There's 2 free models on my Sketchfab. So if you're looking for a flashlight model for your video game, and you don't want to use anything that might be copyrighted with, I have all my Sketchfab meshes. Some of them are higher quality, some of them are lower quality, are all free and always will be free, and you can use them as often as you like. Just please follow the rules on Sketchfab in regarding to the CC attribution rules on their website. So let's have a quick drink. Okay, so let's move on. So we have our flashlight in, and I'm going to name this to flashlight model. I'm going to name this to flashlight light, so I know exactly what it is. Okay, so in our event graph, we're going to find a little space, and we can let's have a look. Let's do F key. So F key, there it is. We want to use a flip-flop for this one. Now, a flip-flop is like a light switch. So a flip-flop will just go from A always to B, and then back to A, and then back to B. So if you ever want to have code, it'll work with a door, light switches, turning lights on and off. If you want to flip between on state or off state, a flip-flop's just basically a simple switch. So on pressed, A, and then we're going to go to our flashlight model here, and we're going to pop that in. I'm going to get our flashlight. So we have our flashlight model and our flashlight light. So the actual light source and the actual model. So the cylinder and the spotlight. So I'm going to set visibility. And that's going to go there. I'm going to do the same. Copy and paste. Set visibility. That goes there, that goes there. That's the flashlight light. New visibility to true. Copy that, paste it, and then to false. So by no means is this a difficult one to set up. Doesn't look amazingly great, but it will do for your video game if you just want a simple flashlight model. So if we go in and we press F, we can see we hide the model and show it. Now, by default, let's go to visibility and let's turn that off and off. So then when we go in, it's not there. Press F, it is. F is gone. F is on, F is off. Now we have a flashlight, it's all set up, it all works. But how do we control whether or not the player can activate it if they haven't picked this up? So what to do is we need to create a branch, and this branch is going to control our variable. We're going to have a variable that's going to control this branch. I'm going to get plus, and then this is going to be has flashlight, and that's going to go there. Now, because of that branch, we should not be able to activate our F key at all. Okay, so now we've immobilized the ability to use the flashlight. We cannot use it anymore. And how that works is this variable is currently set as default to false. So let's get rid of that. Let's click on our variables. And we can see here, has flashlight, the current default value is false. If we enable this to true, and then go back in, and then we press F, we now have the flashlight. The player has picked it up. We can now use that flashlight. So if you take a drink of alcohol for every time you hear me say flashlight, and you'd probably end up pretty drunk by the end of it. So okay, so has flashlight condition true, so it has to be true, and then we can use this code. So this is our blocker. It's like a doorman. If your name's not on the list, then you ain't coming in. If it is, then be my guest, you know? So this is going to block this from working based on the condition. So let's set that back to false, and then we can set that to true. So what we need is a character reference. So we've got a variable, players, and then we get first person character, and get an object reference. This is going to be our character reference. And as flashlight, I'm gonna set as flashlight, and then we want our flashlight model. So click on our model, go into our first person level blueprint, which you get from here, open level blueprint, and then we're going to right click, add a reference, and then remember in our flashlight model we created has flashlight, which is this one, and that is our bind event. So we're going to go bind event, and then we want to look for has flashlight. If I had £1 for every time I said that word, I still won't be rich. Right, okay, so bind event to has flashlight, and then we want to, let's create a custom event, and then we're going to call this bind events, and then we're going to get event begin play, and then we're going to call bind events here. So this is an easier way to, instead of having lots of event binds running off event begin play, just create a custom event, and that will do there. So that's going to go like that, and then down here custom event player collected flashlight, player collected flashlight. That goes in there, that goes to there, and then that gets set to true. Compile and save. Actually, I'm not going to save. And then in here, if we go into the level, it might give me an error actually. I think I might have done that wrong. If we press F, nothing happens. If we right click and then press F, nothing happens because, yeah, character reference, yeah, I did that wrong. I made a mistake, yes. So cast to first person character. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that one. And we're gonna go with this. And we need an object reference, which would be get player character. Now technically this should work, so pick that up, press F, there we go. So now, yeah, my bad, sorry, I was focused on thinking about another train of thought where I was doing a different code which would have worked like that, but I was doing it in the wrong blueprint. So don't do that method, do it the way I've done it. Yeah, so that's a simple way to control if a player has a flashlight in your game. It's super easy to set up. You can stylize it a little bit more to your own personal needs, but that's pretty much it for this video. There's nothing more I can add to that. So if we go in game and we press F, nothing happens. So I press F again, nothing happens. And if we go up, player finds the flashlight. What we could do is have this, so it's kind of in this direction here. Let's go to our flashlight BP. Let's add in a spotlight, viewport. Let's go with, let's rotate it this way like so, and then let's move that in position. And then what we can do is we can go into our first person character, check our flashlight light, and then we set the outer cone to the same. So let's set it to 20. So it's a round number. and then go into our flashlight model and then set that to 20. There we go. And then we'll do lumens and then set that to like 30. Let's dim the lights down a little bit, set the mood. So let's place our flashlight here, just like so. And then get our directional light. Oops, change that to 1. So now we have this little flashlight model, and this will, well actually, to be fair, we would have to add some extra code, because I think what might happen here is we'll pick that up and then 2 seconds later you should see this disappear, I think. So right click, 2, and then it's gone. So to fix that, I forgot about that. To fix that, you would just set the visibility of the spotlight, copy that, paste it, set that up there, set that up there, put that in there, and then this would then fix that issue. So if we then right click, press F, nothing happens, right click, we've picked up the flashlight. Now when we press F, we can walk around and we can see what we're doing in the dark. So there's a hopefully quick and simple way to set up a flashlight where you're controlling if the player has it or not. If the player doesn't have it, hasn't collected it yet, then it won't work. Hope it helps. Thanks very much for watching, appreciate it. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. If you didn't, then that's fine. Subscribe to help support the channel. Consider joining Patreon to get access to some random blend files and stuff, and giveaways and stuff like that on there. And yeah, help me out on PayPal by buying me a coffee. Appreciate you all, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.